Joining me now, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. So this happened in your state. What are you going to do about it, Governor?
Well, the state of Florida is going to do our own investigation. Clearly, there were multiple violations of Florida law. We also, I think, have an interest in vindicating the truth about where this guy came from, what his motivations were. The people of our state deserve that. I don't think it's in the best interest of this country to say that agencies like the FBI and DOJ, which are trying to prosecute Trump in South Florida, they're on appeal at the 11th Circuit trying to reinstate an indictment that had been dismissed, that they're the best people to turn around and, one, give us the truth about this defendant, but also to prosecute the case where they don't have as strong of jurisdictional claims. And so we are going to be doing our investigation. I'm going to have more to say on that very shortly about what precisely we're going to do. But I would note, Jesse, I've played golf with the president when he was in office at that course. It's a great golf course. That part of the property, the 5th green, the 6th hole, and then the 7th tee, that is right there up against the fence line. So the fence line is covered with shrubbery. So if you were just walking by, you couldn't really see inside. But that is clearly the biggest point of vulnerability on that course, because if you're burrowed into those shrubs, you have a pretty clear line of sight on a number of golf holes. And so when I heard that this had happened, there were kind of conflicting reports. Maybe 2 people were shooting at each other. They said, no, this was meant for President Trump. I immediately knew exactly what part of the course it would have been in. So how did this guy get in there? How was he able to burrow in? And yeah, we're thankful that the Secret Service agent, when he saw the muzzle of the gun, fired and caused the defendant to leave. But that guy was burrowed in there, it seems like, for the rest of the night. How did that happen?
Right. Thank God for that agent. Thank God for that agent. But that course should have been swept before, and that vulnerability should have been neutralized. When you hear the Democrats talk about this, I don't personally feel that much sorrow or that much sympathy or even regret that this happened twice, Governor. How do you understand that?
I think what I saw a lot of Democrats attacking Trump today. Really didn't even give this much of a thought. They're just all out with the rhetoric all over again. And look, we'll see what this guy consumed. It seems like he was a consumer of a lot of these corporate media narratives that the Democrats propagate. We'll see. I think that's what the investigation can show. But I will say this. There's a lot of people in our society who may have a screw loose. And if you're constantly telling them that American democracy is going to end if this guy gets elected president, well, somebody is going to feel that they're justified for doing this. And so I do think the apocalyptic rhetoric has increased the threats to Donald Trump. No question about it.
Yep, because everybody wants to be a hero if you tee it up like that. Well, Governor, thank God you're investigating, and please share whatever you learn from your state's investigation. That's really important we get to the truth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.